Hi guys, my name is Chloe, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in August. So August was a really great reading month for me again. I read a total of 9 books and this was a total of 3,130 pages. 3 or 4 of these were novellas, so only 5 like standard size books, but still got quite a lot of books read, and I read quite a mix of books as well actually, looking back at what I read. Some of these I even forgot I read in August. I thought it was the month before, because August definitely wasn't as quick as some of the previous months for me. So yeah, let's go through and see what I read this month. So the first book that I read in August I did listen to on audiobook, and this was Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Now this one I have been listening to since March. Back when I had to commute and stuff, I was listening to it all the time, and then I went for a phase of just not listen to it at all, and that wasn't because of the story or whatever, it's just because I wasn't wanting to listen to audiobooks. So yeah, that did bring down the rating for me a bit, just because I got a tad confused just because of how long I'd left it and I wasn't as excited as I was initially. And yeah, for this one I gave 4 stars. I would highly recommend the audiobook. The narrator is great, he's amazing. Made me laugh as well, not just because of the book but because of the way he was saying some things, and there's some sound effects and stuff in there. It's really amazing. I would recommend this one on audio. So anyway, in this book we follow our main character. I've forgotten his name, and so has he, because he's in space on this spaceship and he wakes up and he has no idea who he is or what he's doing in space. All he knows is that his crewmates are dead, and he has to recover his own memories in attempt to save the human race. So the stakes are pretty high. Yeah, I really liked this one. I loved the humour in it, as I've mentioned. I also really liked how scientific this book was, but also still being very accessible. So the things that it sounds really complicated when things are being mentioned, but then it's explained in a way that even if you don't have a scientific background, hopefully, and I do, but hopefully it's explained in a way that you can go along with it and actually like feel like you know all this stuff, and that was really cool. Also really loved another character in this who I can't mention because of pure spoilers, but yeah, if you've read the book you probably know who I'm talking about. And yeah, this one was quite emotional in places. The character goes through several different emotions: confusion, anger, sadness, desperation, and there's just a handful of different moments throughout the book that are just like really heartfelt and just like made me tear up. I don't think I cried, but I did tear up, as well as laughing sometimes. Really great. The only reason why this one didn't get 5 stars is because I didn't listen to it all in one go, so I can't really rate the story like that because I forgot little bits and bobs, but I imagine if I reread this it would probably be a 5-star read. So the next book that I read in August was Magnus Chase and the Sword of Summer, and this is by Riordan, who you've probably heard of because he is most known for his Percy Jackson novels, which I read and enjoyed quite a while back. And this is basically Percy Jackson, but with a new character, Magnus Chase, and instead of the Greek gods we have Norse gods. So yeah, I enjoyed this one. It was good fun. I did give it 3.5 stars. I was really intrigued in the beginning and I liked the opening and the introduction to those characters. But as we went on throughout the middle, I felt like the plot became a bit too stagnant, and also there were too many characters introduced, which is one downfall of the Percy Jackson books for me. There were just too many characters and gods introduced, and for someone who's not really familiar with mythology and stuff, like I only know Thor and Loki from the MCU, which is why I picked this up. But yeah, so many gods were introduced in a short space of time that I just got confused and kind of, mixed them up, didn't know who was who, and that really, it annoyed me a bit when I was reading this, because I'd be like, oh, who's that? And it would just take me out of the story a little bit, so that was annoying. And yeah, I do like these books. I think I enjoy this one more than Percy Jackson. I do like, this one feels a bit more, well, I think this one is YA, whereas Percy Jackson I think is kind of on the border between middle grade and YA. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I just like Magnus's character so much more than Percy. And yeah, from the gods that I did get familiar with, I enjoyed them more than the ones we see in Percy Jackson as well. This one is also quite funny. There are moments throughout that did actually make me laugh out loud, and there are talking animals, and that's great. And yeah, this has the potential. I've got the other books in the series, so I'm probably going to carry on, and hopefully I will enjoy those a bit more now. I'm like, this is the first book where we introduce everybody, and hopefully going forward they won't add in too many more characters for my sake. The third book that I finished in August was an ebook, and this was Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. This one is, I think it's more of a novella. I think it's around 200 pages or just under. And yeah, this one is basically alien smut, which I knew going into it. I've been hearing lots of things about this book, lots of people enjoying it, some people not liking it. I wanted to see what it's about. And unfortunately this book just wasn't for me. I gave it 2 stars. I don't think it has bad writing or anything like that, where some of the like smutty novellas can. They just aren't written well. This one I think was. I just didn't click with the characters, so Georgie and Vectel didn't buy. I didn't like them. So in this one we follow Georgie, and she is abducted by aliens, and then they leave her and a band of women on this ice planet, and so she has to go out and find food and stuff for the group because they're gonna starve. And this is where she comes across Vectel, who is an alien on this planet. He's with his tribe, and yeah, he immediately is infatuated by her because of this mating thing that he has. And yeah, things go on from there. It's basically just smart, but I just didn't like it. The mating trope, or the mate trope in this one, really bugged me. And like, I've enjoyed this in especially Sarah J Maas books. I think it's done quite well in there. It's not too prominent and in your face really. But this one was a bit too over the top for me. And minor spoilers, so click away now if you don't want to hear the spoilers until my hand goes down. But there is also accidental pregnancy in this one, and it wasn't even consensual in a way, so I was just not a fan of that. But yeah, got to the end of the book and I am kind of intrigued to pick up book 2, just because we follow 2 new characters. I think I would enjoy those 2 more than Georgie and Vectel, but I probably won't continue with the series. The next book I finished in August was for my reading vlog, and this was Divergent by Veronica Roth. This was a reread for me. I loved this book when I was a teenager. Read it at the same time as Hunger Games and stuff, and it was just a favourite. So I had a great time reading this book. In this book we follow Triss. She lives in this world where she has to choose one of the factions to spend the rest of her life with, and so she decides to move away from her home and join Dauntless, which are these, yeah, they're kind of like the guards of the city as well, so she goes off with them. And yeah, it's just how she survives in this new place and the trials that she has to go through in order to cement her place in the faction, because if she doesn't pass them, then she will be eliminated basically, and have to live within the factionless, which is very bad. So yeah, I had a good time reading this one. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as the first time I read this. I didn't rate this one on Goodreads the first time round because I read this before I started Goodreads. But since it was up there with the Hunger Games for me, which is a 5-star read, I'm assuming this would have been a 5-star. But I gave this one 4 stars. It wasn't until rereading it that I realised how imbalanced the plot actually was. It was quite a nice introduction to the world and stuff, quite steady, not too much happening, and then at the end suddenly there's a load of action, and it just seemed a bit kind of rushed, but also not really, because I kind of know how the book's go and it is setting up book 2, but as a book by itself the plot was really imbalanced. But yeah, in this, I love Triss and Thor's relationship in this one, like, so much more than Katniss and Peter. I loved the romance side of this, and also her interactions with her friends and other Dauntless members in this. There were some things that I forgot towards the end in terms of people being killed. Can't say anything more, but one of those still shocked me. Most of them I did remember. I did enjoy this one, and I'm glad I reread it, and I'm probably going to continue my reread of the series at some point. So the next 3 books I'm going to just lump together because they are part of a series, and I can't say too much about them anyway because they're like sequels, so I will just lump these all together. And these are books 3, 4 and 5 in the Mindf series. So Scarlet Angel, which I gave 4.5 stars, All the Lies, which I gave 5 stars to, and Paint It Red, which was another 5-star read, and these were all by St. Abbey. So this is a series that I've mentioned before. I think I read the first 2 books last month, and in this one we are following Lana, and she is a serial killer trying to track down these men who raped her when she was a child, and she wants to get her revenge, and she falls for an FBI agent called Logan, and they have this romance. So yeah, she has to try and go and get her revenge and do all these kills whilst keeping up this relationship with Logan without him finding out who she was. Basically, that's the main plot. So yeah, this series was really interesting for me. I went in thinking it was going to be a dark romance, which really isn't really. The darkness is separate to the romance. Like, all the darkness is about her torturing these guys, killing them, and then her romance with Logan is like very sweet, and like they're very separate in that I didn't expect that. Yeah, these books though are very gory. The torture scenes are especially graphic, and there was a scene in book 4 that I had to just put the book down a bit because that one actually made my stomach turn. It actually went slightly too far for me, and I was like, okay, I need to pause for a bit and come back to it. But yeah, I just really liked this. I liked all the characters in this, and I really enjoyed how the series wrapped up as a whole. And yeah, I'm very pleased with this series. I've now finished it. Book 5, that was the final book in the series. So the next book I finished in August was another reread for me, and this was From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I also listened to this one on audiobook, but this is the Ferroduke copy that I have. And yeah, again, I just love this book. It's one of my favourite fantasy romance series, if not my favourite. And yeah, in this one we are just following Poppy, who's the maiden, and she's not allowed to go out or talk to anyone because she needs to be there ready to ascend at this kind of ceremony. So she's assigned a guard called Hawk to make sure she's not in danger or anything, and she immediately thinks he's handsome and falls in love with him, basically, and it's about their romance ensuing from there. Yeah, like this, it kind of has paranormal elements in it in terms of creatures that resemble vampires and werewolves. They're not quite called that, but that happens. And yeah, I just really love this series. I gave this one 5 stars. I really like Hawk and Poppy's characters and how they just bite back at one another, like when they're talking and stuff and they snap at each other and stuff. It's just so much fun to hang out with them and yeah, just follow them on their as they fall in love, basically. And yeah, this one also made me laugh in places. There are some funny moments as well as some traumatic moments as well, but yeah, really had a good time reading this book, and I am gonna listen to books 2 and 3 because I haven't read book 4 yet, which is the newest instalment, which I need to get to. And the last book I read in August was The Atlas 6 by Olivie Blake. Now this one was a really weird read for me. I gave this one 3.5 stars, so it was still very good, but I had no idea what this book is about really and what really happened in this book, which is crazy. Surely that means I should rate it lower, but I really enjoyed the characters in this. Yeah, we're introduced to 6 really different characters in this, and they have great backstories explaining their powers and stuff. That was really good. And then these characters are recruited to the Alexandrian Society, and they are told that only 5 of them will be enrolled and 1 of them will be eliminated. And so they go to this society, which is basically like a massive library, kind of like school-y type setting. And yeah, they basically go there, but once they're there, not too much happens. And then there's a big twist at the end, I think. So yeah, this definitely was a slight disappointment for me based on all the hype it has, I enjoyed it, I'm just confused and I definitely need to reread it. I think upon a reread I would enjoy it so much more. But yeah, the writing style in this one is really quite fancy and I quite like that. It was quite different to anything I've read before in terms of writing style. There were some flashbacks and stuff which kind of didn't help with the confusion because it wasn't quite clear in places what was a flashback and what wasn't. Fortunately for me, I am a character driven person, so that definitely helped with my enjoyment of this book, because if I wasn't, I don't think I would have rated this one as highly, because without the characters there was really nothing there for me to enjoy. So yeah, that was kind of a disappointment. I probably am going to pick up book 2, but probably not as soon as it comes out. I was planning on picking up the Waterstones edition to match this one. Still on the fence about that one, but we'll see. So yeah, those were all the books that I read in August. Yeah, like I said, quite a good reading month with a mix of books in there as well. So let me know down below if you've read any of these and what did you think, or what your favourite read from August was for you. And yeah, I hope you are enjoying your current reads and I will see you in the next one. Bye!